Hey, well, welcome to the Dream Labs with Dr. Contrast Live. It's going to be a fun day today, folks, and I think we'll try to wrap this stealth tank program up. And just an interesting set of circumstances. I think we take a minute here before we finish up the final piece here to go back and do a little review. And just so you're aware of the fact, too, since our last stream on last Thursday, we did a series of little sketches and some little 8 by 11 thumbnail sketches in ballpoint pen and a little bit of pencil work, and some had color, some had not. So I went back into the inventory and began to put some color together, basically to get an idea of what I was going to do for the final illustration to get this tank selected. That was really neat too. That at the end of the program, we ran a little survey on which was the favorite tank, and number 7 was the winner, and I'll show you in a moment here what that began to look like once I put together the program or the illustration concept piece. And I jumped a little bit ahead and got some things done on that. The final piece at 11 by 17, not to waste a lot of time on the air, but to go back and do a little bit of detail work and explain some things about how we got there. So let me just take a moment here. This is where we started here on last Thursday. As I said, series of sketches were done. Went back in and took a look at them. Said, let's put a little bit of color to them. This is the first family we did here. And I'll say this too, just to make sure that we get this clarified. This is one of the most intriguing concepts I've worked on, because it's outside of my comfort zone, and I really wasn't really sure about military equipment. I've done some military stuff before, aircraft and illustration work, and also working the shadow on some of that Harvest Star piece we did some time ago in the Manicore, other elements like that. But it wasn't really something that was really a more military or heavy equipment piece that I've done before. So it was a really good learning process for me about getting into shape, form, and identity, personality, all these things again roll into one. And I came out of this project really learning an awful lot about different systems and how they all function and what they begin to look like, and how to take chances in advancing the concept. I'm in no comfort zone, Doc. Don't I wish? Comfort zone, you know what I mean, Shadow. When you're stepping out of a car life, all your automobile all your life, and did an architecture, interior space, and product design, then you move into a realm such as Star Citizen material, and then man, that's a whole different world altogether. I would have got I had the talent that those guys have. It's absolutely stunning to look at what they do. So all that to say that the comfort zone for me was just kind of stepping out and getting into this heavy equipment military stuff, and it was really intriguing to me. So and again, learned an awful lot. So yeah, thank you very much, Shadow. I don't have a comfort zone, but in a sense, when I step out of it, boy, it's a real kind of a touch and go situation. I want to make sure it's all done right. Because the audience is counting on it, and so am I. I don't want to disappoint people out there looking in and tuning into this thing. So this is where we started. Put a little more color back in these sketches. This is plate 1. Then I'll just flip them over here. Plate 2, a little bit more, less adventuresome, a little more straightforward, almost very faceted stealth look. Had a little bit of color in the upper. Went back and did a little tone work on the lower to kind of give some identity. And that was the second plate we did. Then we went into this study. This is where it kind of broke for last 2 sessions ago. Fearless in a sense, and obviously frightened to death. Underneath it looks that way, but you're in there going like this. Oh my God, I hope it works. But this is a plate going back about 3 sessions ago that I just kind of turned around and said, let's go back to some elevation studies. This plate, this series of sketches really opened things up for me. And all of a sudden, this has got some intrigue to it. And I'll notice a lot of downhill California rake in this thing, a little bit more speed oriented, less tank-like, very bulky, very slippery looking. So I think that's what I was looking for. And when I hit this one, things started to move up a little bit. This is kind of a spooky one down below. It's kind of a little half dome and a very faceted piece. And in the plan view, this thing steps out a little bit and does some interesting things with some of the munitions storage pieces in the driver's cockpit area. So all that to say, just a neat breakthrough here to get that taken care of. So this was a real breakthrough. This is a pivot point for me. Then from this plate, moving on to this one, got a little more romantic with some of the shapes, a little more organic. This is probably more of a vehicle study as a tank study, but the one on top was another departure. And then the one below was just getting into a quadrant, like a floor plan system here. Hey, Demetrius, how are you, man? That one right there. This one? 1 or 2, but it was a step out in terms of putting together more of a depth. Oh, the one on top, yeah, that's interesting. That one really stepped out a little bit, a bit more adventuresome as opposed to where I was here. Here it was very straightforward, very organic, non-organic shapes, just very sheer, very hard-edged, but nonetheless, it was right there, man. It was just on the brink. Then I stepped out a little bit further and went, let's go back to something a little more organic in here and work with this thing. So that was another plate we did. And by the way, it's funny getting further. Hey, Demetrius, Chris, really appreciate you being on board again, man. It was great to chat with you the other day, and I'm glad you're doing very well. And thanks so much for being really interested in the program here, and I hope this will have some encouragement for you throughout the course of the session here today. So that was another step out. Then went, okay, what do we do with this? It was all combined. Then what do we separate the pods out into the front and rear system, almost like independent drive, almost like a crab walk system. Could be working one, the top one. It was really interesting. So we went through that series. Then we did this. Went back to more of a conventional, very hard edge, a lot of faceted shapes and the like. And again, the thing for me about this, from a design point of view, was this really intriguing setup of how to work with different angles and shape and what kind of values to work with. I mean, you get a lot of facet work. Do you go light, dark? Where do you place the emphasis? Where do you back off on it? Where do you let the drawing come through? All these decisions are being made. And again, that's what I said in the beginning of the stream and the program. Why this one was such a real challenge and a really good step out for me to learn some things about not only surface work, but facets and how to work with the color and tone and detail and actually putting some system together that was really interesting. And I can use that as a springboard into future references when we go back into some things down the line here for other streaming programs that we've got planned here in the next few weeks. So that was another step here. Then we went to this guy, and then this was the one, when it was all said and done, this was a survey winner here. Something about the concept of this guy was really the favored one. I put it out for bid last Thursday. All right, guys, I've got 6 or 7 pages here worth of information. Which one do you think is really kind of neat? What one do you think would be the winner? Pardon me, just a moment, get these out of the way. And this one was selected, and kind of an interesting layout. I mean, it just had a different presence about it. It looked very contemporary. It looked very stealth-like. It looks almost intimidating. A very armor-plated piece. It had a little bit of concept of some of the organic work up on top and some of the other elements underneath this thing, but really kind of almost like a shell system, almost very intimidating looking form. So from that area, let me put this aside. I went ahead and did a little bit of homework on this thing, and I put together another thing, put this in context, and this is where we ended up. There's the final composition with this guy. Just started to work on it here. Was it this morning, and put it into context. I'll get back to that in a moment here, and we'll bring it back into play. But really putting it into context in terms of what it looks like maybe in a battlefield or some sort of desert condition. And believe me, this was not easy, because I think I'm not prone to do a lot of illustration concept work in context. I think, in fact, if memory serves me correctly, working with Shadow about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, the only thing I've done really live like this in context was that live stream we did with the Harvest Star, in which the concept came in through the global people asking questions and getting things and putting ideas together and giving us concept information. I'd be running the other way. That was a real interesting challenge. And I think I went ahead to this, and what I don't want to do in a stream is spend a lot of time watching me go through the process of adding marker, tone, pastel, ballpoint pen, whatever the medium might be, watercolor. This is one where I just want to really stream into this thing and get a really good composition put together in a battle context. It's not quite there where I'd like it yet, but this is I'm going to do a little finishing touches on this thing, and then we'll go into it and begin to review it again, and hopefully wrap it all up. So let me just kind of start with some of the things we're looking at here. I'm going to add a little bit more context down here below on the ground surface, and I'll go through I'm working with some pastel here just to kind of give a little more presence to it here. Lay it in there first, then you come back in and just kind of dust it and get rid of some of the overset, kind of bring that into play. What I want to get to is almost like a wedge system where you're actually taking this whole desert concept and moving it into a nice little triangular piece here. So would be neat to see it raise up on the tracks at really low, but drop down to what could be called a hull down mode. That is spot, yeah, it's really hull down is right where it is. That's, you got it, Shadow. So that's it. So I'm going to come back in and do a little more texture work here. A little bit of color and just add some definition to it here. Some pastel, lay that in to get some ground contour put together. Bring it down a little bit further, closer into the composition. We're going to lose it just a bit more. And come back and just combinations of pastels to kind of get that soft character, that desert format that we're after. Using my hands to kind of blush it a little bit. And we'll come back to this in a moment, and then take a little bit of pencil work. So again, it's multimedia piece. We're actually getting into things like pastel, pencil, and just putting a little more texture into these things, and just putting more character to these guys. So it guys give them more of almost like a desert, very rugged looking form here, and some of the cracking and the dry heat. Just getting it all put together, and let's come back in a little bit side of pencil, a little bit of valley turn in here. Take that on through, Run that back in. Get some more definition back in through here. Just drawing back into it here. And I think this is why I want to spend most of my time here today. And since the medium is already established, I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm not certainly cheating ahead here. This is all something pre-planned. I want to make sure that this thing begins to look like we've got some real guts behind it and make some sense. So let's go back in here. I'm going to get a little bit of mixture. Get this down and turn this pad over just a touch here. So let's go to a new one. And a little more tone and back in through here. Let's get this guy to kind of come back in and blend some of that desert system out of there. Get that in place. And we'll come back in again, a little more of this into it, just a touch to kind of change the contour a bit. And again, use that pad to kind of knock it back just a bit more. A little more content to it. And there it is. Let's come back in here just a touch more. Just kind of get that edge to kind of work in here. And I get that to work in here. And blend it in. And back up on top again with that very desert sand color, just begin to tone in the rest of that contour back in front here. Now let's come back in again and get this a little more definition. Draw back into it. It's more of a definition or a drawing exercise now, just to get kind of the contour in there to give it a little bit of gutsy to it, and then and hopefully get the foreground in place. And then we'll come back in behind this thing and add a little bit more of this concept up on top here to get some of these mountain ranges to get a little more distinctive here. Just kind of blend this in just a bit more. See if we can get some of that contour to work a little bit into that bomb situation. There it is there. Maybe just a touch more of this too. Let's see what happens here. Let me get rid of this. Clean this up just a bit. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the greatest design tools known to mankind is an eraser. Just come back in and just a little bit more, get some of the pocking to work out of this thing, just give it more definition. Let me just grab this brush. We're just going to move back and forth and get a lot of just ground texture, and so it kind of gives it more believability. So far, so good. I think it's pardon me, a real slow process, but when it works, it's really kind of effective in terms of putting together the right character that you're after for these vehicles. So let's kind of just get a little more color, break this form up just a bit more, take it off page, get this brush and kind of move out some of that stuff. And every time you see a little bit of a gap, we kind of blend it back in nicely. We kind of drop through that and give it more pocket work. So there it is there. Let's go back in and get this kind of cleaned up just a touch here. And get rid of that. And it's just going to a little more chunking through here. Let's get some of that out of the way. There we are. A little more believability. Back, knock that in. Let's just see if we can get some of this concept up on top here to kind of come back in and drop off just a bit. Get rid of it, and then we'll blend it back in just a minute here. Just enough to soften it off just a little bit. Then we'll take just a bit of this. It's really deep, almost terracotta color, a little bit of gray added to it. A little more texture in through here. Just come back and just blend it just a touch more. What do you think so far, gang? It's just kind of coming together for you, making sense. Just putting a lot of texture in place here. And it's a little bit more realistic. Believability here, kind of come back into play. There's that, into that gun barrel. Just a touch back in through here, let it fade into that smoke. Munition smoke, and there it is. There we go. And there we are. Let's put a little more tone back in through here. Just kind of breaking it out of there. What do you think, guys? Come together all right? Just dropping it in just a touch here. Let's try a little bit of this too. Let's go back and get the sky squared away here. Let's put a little bit of this in context here. Again, just working with, primarily today, working with pastels, a little bit of marker, a little bit of pencil work to kind of get this thing defined for us here. Hey, Die Hard, how are you, man? Good to have you on board. Just trying to finish up the rest of the illustration piece on this tank system. I'll go back and do a little review at the end of the program here, so we kind of pick up where we were. I just went back in the last Thursday's stream and picked up some more information on putting a little bit of color together in some of the systems, and we put it out last week. This design, let me put this up. This design seemed to be the winner, Die Hard, so we went ahead and put this guy into context here. There it is, and there it is, and we'll put them together if we can get it to kind of fit, and there it is, static, and there it is in battle environment. So I'm just trying to put together some of the final pieces here. See a little bit of sky tone in here first. We'll run that through. Get into the coppers, bring that on through, bring this into play. We'll just start real light system and just kind of walk this off the page. So we get that started. There it is there. And let's put a little deeper blue in here. Get that sky to work for us here. Again, pastel washes with a Weebro pad coming in over the top of this horizon line. Just push that through. I'm trying to maintain that wedge coming off the shape here and pulling it right back in the surface here and got it done. Demetrius, what do you think about sending this design to the government? Wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? They'd probably come after me and shoot me and kill me for the violation of ethics and so forth. Let's see what happens here. Let's put a little bit of this ground, pass it back in. Let's go back in through here. And there it is. Just keep building it up, changing some of the surface work here. Let me switch gears for a moment and just pick up a little bit of this pen and just adds a little bit more definition through here. I'll come back in and pick a little bit more definition in this. Let's see what happens here. Let's get this. Let's do a little bit of drawing definition on this guy first. Let's get this out. Very delicate here. I'm just going to get a little bit of a surface change back here. Same thing with this guy back here. And since it's quite a bit back there, let's just do a little bit of pencil definition, a little bit of shadow in this thing. There it is. And last but not least, I'm going to lay in some ventilation work here. Not a drawing definition. Jump Tom would be nasty with these looking in the shadow. Yes, it would. Well, it's good to have you on board, Diehard. Nice to see you here, and I hope this is kind of making sense for you. Just a nice, just a kind of finished composition of putting this thing together in context, and make a couple of announcements here in the next few days, every next few minutes here, when we kind of wrap this beauty up, and about what's coming. I think you'll be excited about what's going to be happening here in terms of, let's get this all cleaned up just a bit. A little bit of highlight back in here, and let me just get that brush again, get this out of the way, and we'll come back in and just pick a little more definition up here. To me, this is probably the most important part of the whole process when you start to pick up things like this. The drawing definition gives it more life. You know, you get a flat series of surfaces, and kind of it's okay, but it doesn't have the same jump. For example, that you're going to go back in and add some definition to it here. Let's have a little fun with this thing. This is some squadron markings on this beauty. Bring that over the top. Take it across. And the same thing on top here. Get that same definition. Bring it up on top. Bring it up on top, and there it is. So it's starting to come together, kind of just making a statement here with this here. A lot of definition, a lot of time spent just doing some drawing definition. It's going to bring that all together. Bring that all together. You don't see that image. Now let's come back in through here. To define this shape. Define. Just kind of slow it all down. All of a sudden, it just takes on a different personality. We start to put a lot more sketch rendering detail into this thing, and it gives some definition of what the surface are doing. A lot more interest here. Let's kind of fake the shadow here on the surface. Get that down a little bolder. We can take advantage of that. It's the cannon shadow of the cannon coming off of that boom. There it is. Underneath the surface here, just take that off the page just a bit. And I'm just really going back in and being very spontaneous with some of the groundwork here to kind of take the bite off of this. Very harsh terrain. So you gotta get that guy to read here. Back into there. There it is. So just take that right on through the horizon line. And then bring it back up again and right on through, and then there we are. Just kind of drop it off just a touch. All of a sudden, it's got some real jump to it, I think, as far as interesting concept here, as far as the composition goes. It just really kind of a terrain adds so much. Yeah, it really does. The terrain takes away from all the harshness, I think, Shadow. You got it right. I think in doing that correctly is really subtle. So it's kind of more blush back up through here too. Just get a little more really just real subtle line drawing working through here. Get these slopes to work. Just kind of twirling the pencil and getting some real feel for some of the terrain here. It's got disappearing into the smoke. I don't know if that helps at all or not. So close to it now, I can't even down. I think that did help. Just kind of defines a little bit more of the background in that area. So I think that serves a purpose here. So let's do a little fun with this guy. As I said before, to me, one of the neatest design tools given to us as an eraser. This thing just is an absolute, it's a godsend. It's really neat because you can come back in and cover it with mistakes and at the same time erase your mistakes without going back in. And I've always believed this too, and I think it's such a fitting thing to work with. I've never really been a real big believer in using an eraser, a draw line and erase it, mistake it, and go back, because you go back in and what happens 9 times out of 10 you make the same mistake. So I've just used that as a sketch rendering tool as opposed to a piece of cover up your sins, so to speak. So it's going to get that rotor back there. A couple more little rotations out of that guy too. There we are. Very expressive. And nice thing about that, you kind of soften it off again. It's got to take it back in the environment. So just real subtle work here, but nonetheless getting a real character down as far as putting the pieces together. And we'll see if we can do a little bit of this too. Some of that. That's a little more tone to it here. A little bit of this deep purple into that sky system here. Yeah, let's see what this does. Just maybe down at the horizon line level here. Just get a little more of that tone kind of working through here. Not too much fuss. Just enough in there to kind of give it some mystery. And of course, the coup de grace that comes out of that is come back in and just get a touch more of what happens with this beauty right here. We come back in and just get a lot more of some of this going together and just kind of come back in. Pardon my hands here. Take a little bit of that cloud pattern through the mountains, almost like a mist up in there. There you go. That's starting to put a little bit of a concept together here. And just a touch more up here. Blend that back in just a bit more. I don't think we're going any further than that. I think that just about just kind of seals it right there, I think, unless you see some things that we ought to really kind of be pushing together here. I think this has got some real some jump to it. It has the right context, hopefully now. It's got a little bit more personality. It's not just the tank sitting, for example, on the terrain. It's got a little more magic to it now as far as let's put a little more definition back in through here. Just a touch more as it disappears into the distance. There we are. Some second level working here. And just a touch back in through here. And I don't know, what do you think, gang? I don't want to go any further with this without, I don't want to destroy it in terms of putting together the wrong context here. How about a missile shooting out with that would be interesting, but I don't want to really kind of destroy some of the character. Maybe they're at rest, waiting for battle station to be ready here, Demetrius. So I think I'll let it go at that, and I just want to add a little more drawing definition up front here. Just going to take this guy here. Well, I don't know how you feel, guys, but I think that's just about as far as I'm going to take it here. It just seems to be enough finish here to kind of put the definition down because it doesn't have enough firepower. You're probably right, but I think I'm going to let it go with that context right there with just one small caveat here. Let's just do this. Let's get a little bit of speed line here. And there you go, gentlemen. I mean, I think that's got it. I think as far as concept goes here today, stamp it down. Yeah, I think that's just about it. I think any further, I think we're going to destroy it here. Let me just do a little cleanup on some of the edges here. And I think this might be an interesting candidate for maybe, what do you think, Shadow? Maybe our t-shirt store, when we get it all put together, put this thing on a t-shirt and just put a little bit of label to it. And by the way, too, I think I want to really hope if he listens later on, I think it'd be great to just pay a lot of respect and tribute to our man, Victura. He had a great name for this thing. I think we're going to label it the T-22 linebacker. I think that was just a tremendous name for this beauty. It's really, really well done, I thought. It's very cool. So nice stuff here as far as the title and the name is concerned. Linebacker, yeah, wasn't that cool? The T-22 linebacker. That's the name of the game here, gang. We've got it all put together. So there's the basic overall gist of this thing. Demetrius, I'd love to put a but I think it's going to destroy some of the composition. It's just easier at rest, waiting to go into battle, and the troops are willing to support it, and they're just kind of on a stand-down system right now to kind of ready to fire at it. So we'll let it go with that. Just neat stuff. This to me a great learning exercise all the way through. And let's go back to this. See if we can get them side by side. I don't know if we can get them to function and all that, just to show where the tank is. But there it is in context here. When we did this thing last Thursday, there was the actual study itself and the side view. And what I did when I went to this composition, I just really, hey, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Victoria. Good deal, man. I hope we wish you very, very happy returns and many, many more. And thanks again for that suggestion on this title of this beauty. It was really well done. Thank you. But you notice I shortened the front platform just a bit in this view, just to kind of take it some of the length out of it. And I think it helped a little guttier. So there it is. That's where we were, and this is where we ended up. And I think it's got some real substance to it here. And I think, what do you think, Shadow? I think this might be a t-shirt candidate for our store. I really think this could be a lot of fun. It's a different departure from doing car stuff and the like. So I think that's some real merit to it. Again, I apologize for not going through the entire process, but there were so many things going on there. I thought, well, I got the majority of the rendering squared away. And then go back in and just really, definitely a print. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of a cool print. You're right. So back to the subject matter here. I just really didn't want to get into a lot of time spent in terms of putting a lot of fuss in this thing. And I just want to get it all pretty well, about 70% home, and go back into detail on the live stream here today. And I think it worked very well. So I hope you enjoyed the process. I know I certainly have. This has been a real treat in terms of, let me just do this. Let's get no more gray back in through here. Just notice that, kind of clouding it up just a bit. There we are. I think that really, it's been a real learning curve and really a satisfying one, because it really got to the place where things that I was kind of not worried about, but concerned about, making sure the definition was correct. I'm going to make sure I get the shadow squared away here, get this tightened down just a bit more. There it is. And from there, begin to build a repertoire based on things to come. While I'm at it, let me just do this. If I can get this, yeah. Let's put the final stamp on this guy. So there she is. That is the military stealth tank final illustration on the process here. So a lot of fun here today, guys. I thought I'd take a little bit of a moment here. Let me put this, let's keep this up. But I think just for what it's worth, in the next few sessions, I'm going to come back together again with some very interesting T-22 linebacker. You got it. I think that's a great name. Thank you, Victoria. And happy birthday to you, sir. I think on Thursday, I came back, went through my notes, and I thought, it'd be kind of a fun thing to go back in and just look at some very basic things in terms of maybe not so much illustration or some fine-tuned stuff like we've done, like the tank system we did, and the hydrofoil Powerboat, that was another illustration series, and then from start to finish, a lot of that was going on. I'm not unhappy. I think we made some real progress with some of those programs. But I think the thing I'm intrigued with now is I went back in and did a little bit of inventory, taking some notes last night in my office at home, and I think it'd be kind of nice to go back in and do some very basic fundamental things like getting into the magic of line weight, how to develop a volume and what volumes begin to do, and then show you not only the theory behind it but also the application. And I think I've already started some sketches. I'll give you some idea where I don't know if I've got them here or not. No, I don't. I started to do a little series of sketches based on what the magic of line weight is and how to work with line and how to develop a shape to give it dimension. So I think I'm going to go back into some very fundamental architectural pieces here in the next few streams and show you the theory or describe the theory behind line, surface, light, etc., basic perspective, and automobile design, product design, architecture, whatever it might be, then show you how that begins to transfer into the actual product or the piece you're working with. So what do you think, guys? Is that something that you might be interested in seeing? I'll just gear it towards what you think is correct. And I've always said it too in every stream that I do. When I'm all said and done, man, I always love to hear feedback from the people who are tuning in. It'd be really neat to go back in and have you drop me a note at jim@drcontrast.com, my email note, and let me know what you might be interested in. And I talked to Demetrius a couple of days ago about doing more car stuff and getting into more product work, or else whatever it might be. And Demetrius, if you're still with me, man, put together a list and just fire me a note and say, hey, I'd like to see this and this and this, or I'm working on this. How would you solve this or help me work with this? That's great. No sweat. Learning as well, I'm sure. I appreciate that, Shadow. I'm learning as well. Every time I go through the process, like I said when I started this program today, this has been a really interesting series for me. This stepping out of my comfort zone and going into some military stuff, especially tanks. Boy, I mean, that was a real an eye-opener as far as what was going on out there. It was just fun to go through the process and take some chances with it and break it all down. And I think the research side was fun too. There's a lot of neat stuff going on out there, but and I'll be honest with you, some of them did not look very almost too Star Warsy. And I don't mean that to be critical, but I do want to keep it a little bit more within the realm of the next 5 to 10 years with some possibilities of what might kind of come together here. So yeah, Demetrius, thanks very much. I think that'd be kind of neat to go back in. So what I might do on Thursday's stream is start out with a whole series of what I would call fundamental lesson programs. And the fundamentals not in terms of being boring with it, but the fundamentals of how perspective works, how two-point perspective works, how volumes work, how round surfaces work. Go back to some of the basic geometry and begin to develop that into a series of such situations from stream to stream. Here's the theory, here's how it functions, and here's the application. And show you product elements as we go here. And while I go through that, I think what I'm going to do too is I'll have to kind of tap into my wingman Shadow's brain about maybe when I do those things starting on Thursday. If you're in tomorrow, Shadow, I'd like to get back with you to kind of show me how to go through some of the recordings and then record those series and get them on our website. I think that's the thing I'm really looking forward to. And also in our store, we can have a lot of fun with this thing. So I think enough said for me. I think what's coming to me are very exciting things, and I think I've been very fortunate to work on some neat stuff. But I think going back to basics, the thing I liked about that concept, as far as from a Twitch point of view, not from the streaming point of view, is you expand it a little bit, and then you contract it back into reality. Then you expand a little bit more, and then I can't get into my brain can be dangerous. Oh no, it's an untapped resource. Believe me, an extremely terrific resource. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you and how you see certain things, especially in the digital world. So interesting stuff, Shadow. But I think back to basics again. What's really intriguing to me is that you take the concept of design or art or whatever it might become, and you open it up and you expand upon it. Here's the skill set I have. Here's what I've learned over the years. Oh, by the way, I've learned that because I've come back to a very condensed process of saying this is how it works. Here's the theory, and here's the process by which it goes into it. Again, I'm not ashamed to tell you that to me that comes from many, many years of being around great talent like Sid Mead, Homer Lagasse, Jack Andrews, Chuck Jordan, Zora Arkus-Duntov, you name it. I mean, these guys are monumental in terms of fundamentally strong, but so expansive because of that. So that's what's coming, gang. Great, appreciate your time here today. No need to fuss with this guy anymore. I think we got it pretty well set. This is fun, a lot of fun, and again. So stay tuned with me on Thursday. We'll open up a whole new series. We'll go back into some very basic digital learning systems, sketch rendering learning systems. I'll go back into some fundamental things that I'm working on my book. I'm trying to put together another book too called Genesis, which gets into all 4 disciplines and show you again the physical world about how the theory works and into the practical application of what they begin to look like. And those 4 disciplines would be primarily, for example, the time being now would be product design, architectural interior space, and then architectural exterior space, and then transportation design, and then mobility systems, not just cars, but all kinds of mobility systems, aircraft, and how we got here. Absolutely, Shadow. That's cool. So that's what's coming here, and I think it's been a real joy to be part of the process, and I'm learning an awful lot, and it's been really neat to have you guys on board. And Demetrius, thank you so much for joining forces. Die Hard, if you're still with me. Any commentary in closing here, guys? Anything in conclusion? Great survey. I thought we'd go back and review what we've done here. Here's the actual piece we did last week. Let's put it side by side here if we can. There it is in concept, and here it is in context. And one more time, this has been an interesting series for me. This plate, I do not do a lot of context work. As I said, I think Shadow, correct me if I'm wrong, last we did was the Harvest Star. It was a live program with you for 3 hours, so it went globally. That was a lot of fun. That was a context piece. Here it is in context. Here's what it does. Here's a landing platform. A lot of neat stuff went on that. So again, many thanks to you for that, the privilege of helping you go through that and being invited to do that with you. So anybody in closing here, any comments? I'll just kind of hold on for a second here and let you fire away here. Great stuff today. It was not really quite as long as it should be, but I just wanted to abbreviate a little bit. Got most of the highlights are much nicer on the finished version, and the barrel is much more sleek. Great finish. Hey, thanks very much, Die Hard. I really much appreciate it. It's a lot sleeker. It's a lot more uniform. Made some changes to it, but I think the overall concept is really there. So thanks very much, Die Hard. Good to have you on board, and I wish you all the very best. Demetrius, you as well, and Shadow. Hopefully you'll be in tomorrow, right? Because if you come in tomorrow, I'm really going to sit down with you and say, okay, how do we get these little lesson plans into a format where we can put them up on our website and eventually back in the store? And I think we'll plan on this guy becoming a real print for future reference. It'd be cool. So once again, gang, all the very best. Take care. Have a great day. And please visit my website at drcontrast.com. We've got some new things coming on board. We're adding some T-shirts and other things to it. I've got to have a conversation with some individual that you selected. Yeah, the angle was pretty cool. A little more drama to it, Demetrius. So we're going to slowly but surely begin to turn this into a process here. The web store is going to be up and running. We're putting those pieces together. A lot of neat stuff for print work is coming on, T-shirts and additional prints, and then modifying. And I think what I might do too, let me ask you a question before I close off here. As a result of this project and this stream system, I went through an awful lot of relearning some things about, that works. Oh, that's how that works. Oh, this is neat how that begins to apply. My opinion of this is what I'd like to be able to do is to take my video series, the 9 lessons on drcontrast.com and the Dr. Contrast and Dreamlabs, and take those 9 videos and redo them and funnel them down to be a little more concentrated. Maybe do a refresher course on all those. That's the reason for going to some of the learning process that we're starting on Thursday, some of the lesson plans. Take those lesson plans that we do on Thursdays, Thursdays, and convert them into another whole new level of digital learning platform for young people to look at, and the talented individuals like yourself to kind of hopefully review and look at. So help me out, gang. I need your input. Drop me some notes on the website if you think that's valid. I think what we have out there now, I think is very good. It covers a lot of grounds, but I did that whole 9 lesson plan was intended to go to high schools and middle schools. And it never really materialized. I won't go into that. There's a bit of a long story behind that one, but I think that the basic premise is that I would go through the same setup again, 1 and 2 point perspective, light source, volumetrics, etc., but geared more to some very shorter, quicker, fundamental processing here to get this into work. So need your help here, guys. So please drop me a note at drcontrast.com. That's my website. And then my email is jim@drcontrast.com if you think that we can kind of go back and refresh that lesson plan. All the very best, gang. And I always like to tune off with this. It was a lot of fun today. Thank you for your time. Really thoroughly enjoyed having you on board here, guys. And I always finish up with this because I think it's the most important part of the day as far as the stream is concerned. Never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. All the best, gang. We'll see you on Thursday. Whole new lesson plan. All the best. Thank you.